Inhale. Hold it. Clean out the cobwebs, man. Clean out any intentions, clean out any thoughts of the day, anything going on tomorrow, anything that happened yesterday. Be right here, right now. Now let's talk.
Dude, that was dope, man. Good start, brother. Very good start. Yes, sir. Yeah, what's the deal, man? What's the deal for today?
Today is just another beautiful day in my journey. I mentioned I've been fighting some health issues, and something occurred to me that I may be going through this because I'm meant to learn a lesson. I'm meant to be able to empathize and sympathize with people who are going through things that I have up until now, I have no idea about. So how can I motivate if I don't know what it feels like to have to pull out a little bit more? You know what I'm saying? And recently I've been tested. I've been challenged because it's been a long time. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with me. And it hasn't been easy. Somebody who's used to being able to lean on their strength and their discipline and their motivation, whenever things get tough or whenever obstacles come up, not being able to have that readily accessible, but having to go in a little deeper to pull that out has been a big lesson. And when I was on Instagram today, I saw a guy did a post, and it was an older man. He's a professor and he's got Parkinson's and he's shaking. And he talked about what a blessing it was to be in that state so that he could learn what it was like for people to go through adversity and stuff like that. And that was enough for me. I'm like, yep, there we go. There's my reminder for why I'm going through what I'm going through so that I can reach even more people. And that's how I look at life. Everything I've ever done is because I needed to learn about that so that I can relate with people. When you learn from a book, it's much different than when you learn from life. And so
way different.
So different.
Way different.
So everything I'm working on is based on my life experience, and they're gifts, man. God goes bing, bing, bing all the time. And I'm just like, I'm here for it. You know, I'm so blessed to be able to have another day like today where I collect these gifts, and life becomes better. That's what's up with me, man.
That, man. I agree with you. There's like, when you're in the mix of it, right? You're like, oh, why is this happening to me?
Yes, it's easy to be a victim, right?
It's not happening to you. It's happening for you.
Yeah,
right?
It's so true.
It's happening for you because God has a plan, right? And you're getting tested because whatever part of your armor is lacking needs to get thicker.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's got a job for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're in the mix of it, you don't understand it, but it is something to be excited about because there really are like no losses. It's all lessons for something that's coming.
Never. And that's one of the things, that's the difference between being a young man and realizing that you're in the middle of a lesson or thinking that you just been singled out, you know, to have a hard life or be a victim. And that's why we as older men need to share these lessons. Hey, man, keep going, keep going, because you're gonna get down the road. You're gonna really know who you are. You're gonna find out who you are. You're gonna be able to give back too, and that's the rite of passage in life. It's not giving up. It's not giving up hope because God doesn't want you to be a victim. God, it's not personal. It's meant for you to grow. Imagine never being tested in your life. What a boring life,
dude. We were just talking about it. Yeah. Like, dude, when you're winning, right? Are you learning anything?
No.
Yeah, you're just
if that was status quo,
yeah,
I mean,
what's would never go up or right?
Yeah.
You'd never go up. So you need that.
And we were talking about this. Well, my daughter does jujitsu. She's crazy confident. I don't know where it comes from because I'm more nervous than she is. And then she's heartbroken when she has a loss. I'm like, no, baby, that means more than the first 3 wins that you had in this tournament, because now you can see where there's a hole in your game and you can work on that for the next time. I told her, I always want you to be up and down like this. I always want you to be learning. Be open for it. Be open for it. That's how you're going to grow. And she got that. She understood that.
Dude, that's cool.
You know?
You could like plant that seed in your kids because I don't think most kids like get that opportunity to have somebody kind of explain that to them. Nor do most kids have the idea to even understand that.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't think I would get it. I would be,
what? Well, no. Here's the thing, though, which is beautiful. The problem is most parents don't allow themselves to go there. So that's why another cycle goes by or another generation goes by where no one learned anything. When you're there for it, when you're open for it, that is our rite of passage when we have a kid. We are meant to pass on our lessons, to share the things that we've picked up along the way. And that's why I feel so blessed. My little one was having trouble yesterday. She wasn't feeling really well. We're making birthday cards for one of her friends, and she was getting discouraged because the thing in her mind was not translating onto the paper. And I go, don't you understand what a gift it is to give somebody something that was in your mind that only came from you? It doesn't matter what it is. Put it on the paper. Put it on the paper. And she got it. And I said, listen, slow down, take a breath. Now exhale, whatever comes out, baby, that's yours. That is the gift you're giving.
So I know it was supposed to come out was the way it was meant to be.
Only you can do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Instead of striving for perfection, right?
Because what is that? You're perfection. You're comparing yourself to somebody else with a different road, with a different mind, different experiences, living a different dream, you know? That's why life is beautiful, dude. When you stop comparing your life to other people, when you realize your own power and you give into it and you allow yourself to live every moment, dance hard, laugh hard, love hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think all that, right? All that starts with like gratitude.
Yeah.
Right. So like if you're grateful for what you have, whatever it is, right? With the most basic stuff, right? All that joy can come next.
It's so simple, man. What's his, there's an actor. He was on Sons of Anarchy, Mexican dude. I can't remember his name. I never did either, but I saw a podcast he was on with John Bernthal, and he talked about, he was at a point where, and I did a post on this or shared a story. When I was going through a really rough time, I watched this podcast and it resonated with me. He said, at one point, he only had enough money in his pocket to take his son to McDonald's. And he told his son, he's like, I only have enough money to take you to McDonald's, but I'm taking you, my son. And he goes, we get wrapped up in the psychology, all this therapy and shit like that. He's like, just be there for your son, you dumb fuck. You know what I mean? That's it. He doesn't care if you're taking him to, just be there for your son. So yes, man, I got a 6-pack of ramen noodle, you know, that I have that. You know, I can live another day. That is gratitude. That's true gratitude, man. It's not. It's
so bad.
It's not at all. It's not at all. The simplest thing is the most powerful thing, and that's waking up today. That's the biggest gift, you know? What about you? You got a ton of stuff going on. It's hard to even nail you down to do anything.
Dude, I'm a busy boy. I like to stay busy. I don't know how the phrase goes, but I believe it's something like boredom leads to desires. And desires lead to vices, right? So
both of us know about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So all I gotta do is just not be bored and stay busy, man.
Yeah, but I mean, at some point though, you got to be comfortable not doing anything.
I do enjoy that, but those moments are not that often.
Listen, we've talked about this, both being former addicts, being current addicts, right? There's always going to be the dragon there. Always that dragon on the marionette go, hey, I'm here still. I'm here. So in the beginning, it's tough to have idle time because you're like, oh, shit, you get that itch. You know, I could fill some time right now. Yeah. Until you get to the point where you're like, nah, can't have me because I like this life more than that life.
I agree.
You know?
100%.
Yeah.
You get to that point where you're like, okay, this is a temporary fun thing that fun will be over very soon.
But it also takes you 10 steps back.
It's hard.
And you're kicking yourself, for the few days where your serotonin's down and you're going through regret. There's a dark cloud over you that brings you back to that place that you were then, and that's a huge battle, but it's also a huge win when you can get to that place where you lean in to say, no, you can't have me. You can't have me.
It's a nice feeling.
It's a great feeling. But listen, I never would second guess or tell myself that I'm more powerful than that, because I've been there where the dragon's been more powerful. And I know the power of the dragon, and he's a slick motherfucker. He's a slick motherfucker.
We were just talking about this in an AA meeting, and the guest speaker was saying alcohol and drugs are the heavyweight champ, right? And dude, you ain't going to beat the heavyweight champ by yourself. But with the power of God, your higher power, a community of people that can help you, you can overcome.
I look at it like this too. There's good and evil. There's God. There's the devil. God wants the best for me. The devil wants the worst for me. Wants to destroy me. And so when there's the opportunity for a decision, we have free will. When there's opportunity to make that decision, what are you going to choose? What are you going to choose? And because you have free will, you can choose what you want, but also know that you're also going to pay for whatever that choice is.
There's a price to pay.
There's a price.
Everything, right?
There's a price.
Everything, 100%.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, man, life is way better.
It's so much better.
Way better.
So much better.
Like things I didn't even know existed. You know what I mean? Like I could only see like the outside. Like I could only see like just even dealing with people, right? I would just judge people as just like, dude, on your appearance, all that stuff. And now I see so much more.
More clearly, right?
Dude, I see beauty in people and it has nothing to do with what they look like. And I never could look past just how somebody looked.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like so embarrassed, like how shallow and vain, like, dude, it's horrible, you know?
But yeah.
But all that had to happen for me to get to here.
I have a friend who's further down the road than we are, and he's a Taoist practitioner, and I worked with him a little bit, and he mentioned that he's like, you get to a point where you lose all judgment, then you're going to be living freely and happily. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. When I was in the city, I went to his place in the city, and I realized that as soon as I walked out of his door onto the street, I was putting everybody in a category. I know your story. I know your background. I know what you're thinking. I know it. Yeah. And I'm like, ooh, this is tough. But we're conditioned to do that, right? We're conditioned to do it. We've been bombarded with stereotypes our whole life, right? To let that go, to be able to let that go, and just to see people. The one thing I will tell you that's hard is it's hard to not, when you see someone is bad, to look into their potential rather than where they're at now.
So like how much of like being in the Marines like made you who you are today? 0, 100,
It's funny because I was never a rah-rah type of guy. And what the military does, the reason they get us so young is because we don't ask questions. We just take orders. You're taking fire from the side, you turn an assault through. That's how I live my life too now. Like if there's a problem, I lean into it, I turn an assault through. And it's important when you're in the kill zone, you don't stand there and go, digga, you're trying to make your mind up and get killed. You turn an assault through. I was never one of those guys that were like, dude, 2098, ooh, sir. You know, I was like, all right, guys, chill out, you know. And the drill instructor called the squad leaders in, because I was a squad leader. I was meritoriously promoted out of boot camp. And he called us in. He's like, yeah, you guys did a great job. You feel like men? And everyone's like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm like, nah, I still got a lot of growing to do. And he wanted to put me on my face, you know. And I'm like, I'm being honest, man. I said, I've learned some things. And I got a lot of growing to do. Not the answer he wanted to hear.
No.
So I'm never one for the fake rah-rah stuff. I did realize I was brainwashed a little bit, because when I got out, you look at civilians that were out of shape, that were eating sloppily, and I was locked, man. I was locked, had the haircut, I was in crazy shape. And I looked at people, I'm like, wait a second, I'm judging way too hard, and this comes from what I just went through. That was part of it. Because you are a part of a machine, a well-oiled machine at that point. Everyone's camis are looking smooth. Back then, we shined our boots. I don't think they do that anymore. We had to have our boots polished. We had to have our uniforms, pressed, and everything was looking. We were locked. And you get out and you see people with their shirts hanging out, and they slovenly, and they have food in their face, and you're like, ooh, it was one of the most disgusting things. You're like, wait. They did get in there. I'm judging people. And I got away from that really quickly. There's also a bullying effect where you were just bullied by your drill instructors. Now you're a Marine, you're going to turn around and do that to the younger Marines? I'm like, no. I didn't put up for, that kind of stuff. And it's that, what is it? The Stanford experiment, where they made half of the people corrections officers, and the other people prisoners, and then they switched roles, and they found that these people at first, they didn't want to hurt anybody. They told them, if you push this button, you're electrocuting the prisoners. They didn't want to hurt anybody, and that someone on the other side would scream, and pretty soon they got drunk with power, and they kept pushing the button, and they were torturing people. And it was something psychological that people, when they have power, a lot of times they get drunk with this power. And that happens sometimes in the Marine Corps as well. You become that
too, right? So like whatever is done to you, you kind of repeat that cycle unless something is done about that.
Again, it goes back to self-awareness.
Yeah.
It goes back to self-awareness. You can either, when you're bullied, you can either become the bully or you can stand up and say, nobody's ever going to have to go through what I went through. That's the self-awareness part I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would never, after being bullied, I would never turn around and go, you know what, I'm going to get my revenge and I'm going to do it to other people. No, I know what it feels like. So now I want to make sure that anybody in my care and I care about is never going to have to go through that. That's a psychological part that you know, again, free will. You can decide, you know. So it's interesting. But as far as the Marine Corps, the physical challenges I went through definitely made me stronger in life, because I wasn't afraid to do anything physical, you know, anymore. For days. For days.
Bro, I'm a big fan.
I know you are. You're a big burpee guy. Yeah.
Because, dude, you can do it anywhere. It's pretty much your whole body.
Yeah.
It's cardio. There's a million different versions. When you think you're toast, you keep going. Even if you rest for like 5 seconds, like now you can do like another 30.
The Force Recon guys would do it around a track for miles.
So you mean walk, do burpees?
Yep. Boom, up, down, take a step, oop, up, down, to go around a track doing that stuff.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. Yeah. They're pretty intense.
Have you seen the ladder?
It sounds familiar.
So it'd be like, there's many ways to do it, right? But one way is like, there's a row of dudes, right? So we're facing each other. So, right. It might be called pistons. I think maybe it's ladder pistons combined, but basically this group of dudes, they go down and do 20, come up. This group of dudes,
they do 20.
They go down and do 20. This group of dudes goes down and do 19, right? Then you work your way down to 1. Now you work your way back up.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like good stuff.
You know equipment, right?
You don't need it. Yeah.
Stuff that you don't train people with a lot of equipment.
No.
Right?
Mm-mm. No. The things you can do with your body is amazing. Is amazing. I'll start with a lot of guys that train with me. It's because they'll come to me when they're feeling rough. They're in their 50s now and they want to live the glory days, or they have a family. They're like, man, I've created my legacy financially in front of this big house. And I've been smoking cigars. I've been drinking whiskey. I've been doing all these alpha stuff that the society tells me I should do. And now I'm looking at my mortality. And I go, you know what? I'll stand in front of this big house with them. And I go, you know what? None of this impresses me. I go, and it shouldn't impress you either, because it doesn't matter if you're dead. And they go, oh, okay. So this is what we're going to do. And I will have them do breathing, meditation, mobility that turns into more of a fast-paced hit. I'll have them do that for the first month before they even touch a weight, so their bodies are bulletproof and they can sustain. Because you jump back into talking about 12th grade where you won the state championship 30 years ago, 35 years ago, and you want to jump back and start lifting weights. That's when people get hurt, they get injured, and then now their fitness career is done, because now you're just going to be dealing with injuries. When you really work on your mobility, I mean, people come up to me all the time that are half my age and go, Chris, I can't move like you. I go, because you don't move like me. When you can go through that and really get in tune with your body, like you said, you don't need equipment. I can do a workout here that will gas us both, in 10 minutes right now.
I like the idea of like working on your core, right? You're not your core, but your basic moves, right? And get all that down before you start adding any type of resistance.
Yeah. Well, that's what I talk about being bulletproof. When your body's bulletproof, you're not going to misstep and, snap your knee or your meniscus, or, pop your hip or hurt your lower back or something like that. When your body's used to sustaining you and reacting to your commands, and, your core, which is your center and your glutes. Guys don't train glutes enough. Glutes are what carries us through life. You got to train your butt. And when you're used to that, then you can build your stamina where you can jump around and do crazy stuff. Now let's lift some weights. Now let's get really strong, because now you're safe.
How'd you figure this out?
Trial and error myself. COVID had a big impact on me, because I was in Brooklyn. We had a huge apartment. My wife at the time, we were thinking about how she's going to start training, because she could make more money training than working at the consulate where she worked. And we were thinking, okay, do we get a nanny? Does the cost offset what she'll make? And COVID happened. And I'm like, what is Zoom? She's like, I got this. And so I gave her some of my clients, started that. So here we were. I'm on one side of the apartment training. She's on the other side. Kids are running through the middle of the videos, doing buffalo potato drawing and stuff. And I had a client who had one dumbbell and I had to train him 5 times a week with one dumbbell. I'm like, brother, we're going up the wall. We're doing these things. We're doing an inverted, alternate shoulder tap. We're gonna do walkouts from the wall and walk back up. We're gonna do all this stuff. So I had to be really creative. I'm like, I wonder if I can do this. A lot of it was ideas of, I wonder if I can do this, and then doing it,
Cool.
and created some really great stuff that I've used with a lot of people and I use with myself. It became part of my non-negotiable routine, movement, flow, and breathing. And it's kept me bulletproof. Like I said, just being creative, man, thinking outside of the box and getting away from books, getting away from manuals and just going out. What can I do? What can I do? What can people do?
Well, you have to, like, in life, right? No matter what it is, you have to be your own experiment.
Yeah.
So you could read, oh, I heard this works. I heard that works. Bro, try it.
Just try it.
Dude, you heard a banana diet is eating only bananas?
There's some common sense in some of it, right? You got to be like, well, I can't,
But you know what? Try it.
You should try it. Or don't fall for everything either. That's a big deal because there's a lot of noise.
Learn more if you're like, dude, I tried that fucking shit didn't work. No fucking way. If I tell you it's not going to work, and
this is my training. Here's the problem with all these trendy things, though. But yes, here's the problem with all these trendy things. If you find something, the things that have worked forever still work.
I'm with you.
So this, say the new thing is pond water. You drink pond water every day. That's going to shred you up. How about no? How about you stick with a good, healthy Mediterranean diet that doesn't have a lot of chemicals and you don't eat a lot of carbs at night, you stay away from sugar, and you're active all the time. Think about what the people what are the blue zones where the people are aging until they're 130 years old. What are they eating, man? There's the research you should be doing.
Yeah.
And here's another thing that I got ahead of myself. My daughter, Tigerly, one time told me I can't. She said that once in her life to me. And I said, baby, you're a Russian. We don't say I can't. She never said that again. And now she figures shit out. If more people do that, just do it.
Yeah. Figure
it out. I was like, now people say it to me, I go, is that Latin? I don't speak Latin. I was saying, what is can't? What is this word? Let's just go. Let's do it. And that's probably something I got from the Marine Corps. It's like, there's no, I can't. We're doing this. This is what you're doing.
Limiting beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Down. Right?
That's it.
Do it.
That's it. Because you can.
Yeah.
You can is the answer. Is the perspective. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's going on with all these skin illustrations, bro?
Well, you know what? It started out, I had an idea. And I was going through rough period where I was feeding the dragon and I was all confused. I was a wreck. So if I had an idea to do something, it would hit and then it would take a month or two to come back around. So I was with all these alpha male dudes in the gym and, tattoos were a big thing. I'm like, I want to start. But I realized I was just a walking contradiction. I would say this and then I wouldn't follow through. So finally talked to one of my boys. I go, dude, who's doing your tattoos? He goes, my boy, Fernando. Go talk to him. It was on 8th Avenue in the city. I went up and the first one I got was this home, right? And that's why it's so big, is because it was the only one I was going to get. And then once I got that, as you know, the bug hit me. And the second one starts here. It's the head of a dragon. It wraps around and I got the Hanya mask that ties in here. My idea was strength, protecting spirituality. So I got a dragon around the Om, and then all the other ones just kind of fell into place too. One of them, it's an A. It was a heart around it. And that was kind of a little fib I told my wife at the time. I said I was getting it for her so I could have the excuses money to get a tattoo. It's really for anarchy. I got on my chest, her name started with an A. I'm like, yeah,
anarchy symbol is Z.
You said it. Yeah. But and then I got my daughters all over me, and they were christened in Cyprus, where my ex-wife is from. And so this is Lolia, because there's no Lulubelle in the Greek language. So she was christened Lolia, and then Tiger Lily. This was the first one I got. It's the actual flower, Tiger Lily, when we knew she was coming. And then I got this kind of Sailor Bob, whatever the hell guy's name was, Tiger Lily. And this is Liliana. Liliana was her christened name. So I got them. Those are the ones I really love. And I got a snake down here just because I wanted to get some. I got a really cool one here, actually, this boxer.
That's dope.
This was, and see Lulu Bell and Tiger Lee, they got their initials on his chest. We met a dude in Cyprus who had been taught the art of Thai bamboo tattooing.
I like that shit.
He was in Cyprus. He started his own shop, and I just ran into him by accident. I go, dude, do you have time? And he got me in, and he sat through, he tied the, the bandana around his head, went in, and he tapped it out. He tapped it out for me. And that was a good experience. That was a big experience. You know what I mean? So.
Fun journey, man.
How about you?
Almost everything is like very decorative.
Yeah, very detailed.
This is like, so.
Sailor Jerry.
So I went to this guy, Yoni Z from Israel, at a shop called, it's not there anymore, called New York Adorned. Shout out to Yoni Z.
Yoni.
And, dude, he ended up becoming this big shot, like tattoo guy. But at the time, he was kind of up and
like
coming.
the bang bang guy.
And I'm like, I don't know these guys, but like, not like that, but like.
In his own right.
He's the guy who you want Tibetan art in a tattoo. Like, he's the
guy to go to.
Yeah. So I'm like, yo, I want a koi fish. And I thought he was going to do this like little thing. Bro, 12 hours later, he's like, no.
You sat for 12 hours?
No.
Oh, I was going to say.
It was like 3-4 hour sessions.
Yeah.
Even that, this is my first tattoo.
That was your first.
Yeah.
The first one's painful.
And he's like, we got to do it here. I'm like, I just want the, he's like, no. He's like, getting it the right way. He's like, it's going to look stupid without it.
Yeah.
All right, cool, man. Dude, you're the guy. Like,
full shit.
Yeah. And, dude, he did that. He did a couple Tibetan clouds on my back. This is all like Greek mythology.
The detail. That's crazy.
Like, we did
Medusa.
one at a time. Yeah, we one at a time. So we
Grim Reaper, is that River Styx?
Yeah, it's the dude. Dude, we did Poseidon. We started with Zeus, and then we just slowly kept like, yo,
that's beautiful. I've never looked at that close. Those are incredible.
Yeah, I got some like Bronx.
What's up with that? What's up with that?
I was drunk.
No, this.
Oh,
fuck the world.
Where was it? You know, it's crazy because like a lot of my tattoos, like sometimes I wake up and I'm like, what the fuck? Dude, I gotta get this stuff lasered off.
Yeah.
And then other days I wake up and I'm like, this is the coolest shit ever.
Part of your journey. I've gone through that too.
Deal, man.
I've gone through that too. And I'm like, what am I doing? And I'm like, this is who I am. Yeah. This is a badge of honor. This again shows I've lived.
It's a memory, even if it's a memory of bad stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's still a memory.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything bad. I don't think there's
we documented that moment in time.
Yeah. I agree.
Go back to it, and you can go back to it and look at it like that was awesome time period, or you could look at it and be like, that was horrible, and this is why, and I'm never doing this again, so I don't end up like that. So however you want to use it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
I see it like this, like you really, and I just think about like how I would react, right? Like you can't force anybody to do anything.
No.
Right? Whatever it is, even if they're killing themselves. You can't force anybody to do anything. What can you do? You could lead by example, and you can kind of suggest.
Yeah.
But you got to leave it up to people to figure it out on their own or not figure it out and drown.
Yeah.
It's like being a lifeguard. Right?
Yeah.
So if you're a lifeguard and somebody's drowning, and dude, you jump in, like you can't jump in, right? You got to throw.
You can't swim for them. Yeah.
The lifesaver, right? You got to throw the lifesaver.
Yeah.
And if they grab it, like you can pull them in,
yeah.
Right? But if you jump in and they don't know how to swim and the two of you die, right? Because they take you down with them, what good was that? Right?
It's not. And it's in my coaching too, because I'm doing, I do a lot of personal development and high performance coaching. It's really what I'm doing is helping them see what's already inside of them. They really figure it out by themselves. It's really figured out by themselves. I can say, well, this is the way I figured it out, or this is my take on it. What do you feel? What do you think? And it's really them figuring it out, because we all have, again, like you said, we get to a point where we want to change, And when we get there, that's when the magic happens. But you got to pull it out of yourself. It's just like the event that, that you came to and supported me on. Finding your power is already inside you. You don't have to go look for it somewhere. Your power is everything you've ever been through that you've collected. And it's the same thing with that. We get to a point where enough's enough and we're done getting ready to get ready. Then that's when the magic happens. But we can't make someone decide to be there, to get there.
But that's the sign, like what you're talking about, what you do, that's the sign of a good teacher. Yeah. A good teacher will never just give you the answer.
No.
He'll lead you to kind of like the area it'll be, and like you find the answer yourself.
Yeah.
And you're a guide.
Yeah.
You're a guide.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like, it's the same thing. It's like with a preacher, with a minister, with with anybody, with a professor. A good one worth their salt. It's not about them. As a speaker, I learned this right off the bat, because you go into it nervous, right? And you lead from ego at first. I have to be good. And then when you let go of that and say, I want the experience for them to be good, that's when you truly become, a good leader, a good speaker, a good influence, a good leader. It's, and that was another big lesson, huge lesson. What does the person in front of you take away from it? Sometimes it means shutting your mouth and listening to them. And that's it. It's as simple as that.
Big lessons. Yeah. There's setting lessons to learn how to become equally as good a listener as a speaker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just kind of even more than that, right? More than just being a good listener, being silent, right? Being silent to hear God, being silent to hear other people, being silent for like no thoughts.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's like true meditation, right? Is thinking of nothing.
Yeah.
Not thinking of peace or thinking of your motorcycle or thinking about shifting gears.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
True meditation is, bro, my mind is completely empty.
Completely. That's such a good point.
Things to come down.
That's it.
Right?
That's it. Because too many times people say, I can't meditate. Well, you can't meditate because you are expecting an outcome. You have an intention, right?
It took me a while to figure it out. I'm not a master.
No.
But we're used to something always happening, right? We want our mind to always be working, right? We want things to be firing. And the hardest thing is to be silent with yourself. I think I was talking to you about this, where I worked in restaurants for practically my whole life.
Yeah.
Right. And I would love to people watch, right? So husband and wife are there, boyfriend and girlfriend, friends, whatever, right? Two people, one person gets up to use the bathroom. Not even 4 seconds, guaranteed. Out comes the phone. Dude,
couldn't just be.
Nobody can be alone with themselves and their thoughts. Nobody wants that. Everybody wants to be constantly entertained. But I want to hear more about this, like finding your power and like your clients and how you do that.
Well, it started out, people thought I was nuts because I approached I was a personal trainer for 23 years. I still am, but I mean, I did that specifically for 23 years. And my approach was, I want you to not need me. I want you to not need me.
I love it.
All the people I worked with, they were like, I got to keep them. No, I want you to get to a point where you know exactly what you're doing, what you're capable of. And then when it's time to set a new goal, you come back to me and let's figure that out. So that's how I approach life too. It's in any relationship, really. The relationship with my daughters. In any relationship, we have the opportunity to lead with love or with fear. When we lead with fear, that is us saying, I don't believe you can do it yourself, so I'm not going to give you that credit and I'm going to micromanage. I'm going to be on top of you. We do that with our kids. We do that with our girlfriends, our wives, whatever that is.
So let me ask you, what's more comfortable or like what's more natural for a person to lead with love or fear?
Self-awareness. Let's say that. How about that? Self-awareness is more comfortable when you figure that out, because then you're aware what you're doing and you can get rid of the one thing that doesn't serve either person. So as a father, I'm really big on allowing my children, I don't know if allowing is the right word, preserving my children's childhood for as long as possible. and as a grown man to reconnect with my own. You know what I'm saying? So I sit back and I go, yes, you did something silly. You fell in the lake. That's amazing. Look at me fall in the lake right next to you. You know what I'm saying? Not going, oh my God, you're so stupid for that, because a kid should be able to fall in the lake. A kid should be able to climb in a tree and the tree breaks and they're like, oh my God, I was so stupid. No, you weren't. You're being a kid. You're exploring. You never see a 2-year-old on a plane that is afraid to stand up, turn around and start singing at the top of his lungs, go, hey, point people out. But as adults, we're buttoned up or we were afraid to do that. When we lose that, it's called our domestication. When we lose that childlike energy, that's when we become fearful of judgment and all these other things. And so that's when we would lead with either love or fear. And at that time, that case, it's mostly fear, because, oh my God, what do other people think? Who cares? When the person next to you is thinking, oh my God, what do people think? When we're all worried about judgment and what people think, we lose the ability to see clearly. Like you said, we lose the ability to dance really hard, to laugh really hard, to love really hard, to be childlike, to fall in the lake, to laugh at ourselves, to make mistakes,
Like, because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I've always been curious, like, at what point do kids get that fear?
It depends on the parent, right? It depends on the parent. It depends on the society they're surrounded with. It depends on if they're in like a structured religious family where they're having these ideals forced down their throats.
What about school, where they're like, you don't stand up?
School, well, see, this school as well. But as a parent or as somebody in a child's life, you have to balance that out. You have to teach them. I try to head off a lot of things that I know my daughters are going to go through by telling them that this is my experience. I know about this. And so, because a lot of people go, oh, well, I know it's coming, but I don't want to say anything. I've talked to them about bullying, stuff like that. And the great equalizer for me is my daughters do jujitsu. And that was the one thing I was a stickler of, is giving me a peace of mind that they are not going to be a victim physically. You know what I mean? They can stick up for themselves. That gives them the confidence. But things like bullying or things like, I told them, like, one day, your friends, the people you're friends with now, you're going to go to school or you're going to go to an event and they're going to be mean to you. And you're going to go, wait, what did I do? And the reality is you did nothing. It's their insecurity. All of a sudden, something about them they don't like, or they're searching, or they're scared. They're fearful of something that has nothing to do with you. So I'm telling them already, this is going to happen. Be ready for it.
Bro, you want to go on just bullying? I remember being like a kid, right?
Yeah.
Going home and telling my mom, like, oh, this kid is bullying me, right? And she tells me, she goes, that kid does anything to you, you punch him right in the nose, and when you're done, come home and tell me, and I'll buy you a toy.
But it's true.
It's where it's at, man.
You can either do that. And I'm, a lot of people are, oh, violence doesn't beget violence.
Whatever.
But here's the thing. You can either be a victim your entire life and it affects your relationships as an adult, or you stick up for yourself and through the fear, and you let people know that you're not to be messed with,
I like number 2.
Yeah. It has to be number 2. It has to be number 2. Otherwise, you're a victim your whole life.
It's the only way to live, right?
It's the only way.
Walk around scared.
No.
That you're acting improper for society.
No.
Yeah.
There's certain things as I feel like my kids, my children, my girls chose me to be their guide. That's the only reason that we connected, our souls connected in this world. And I feel very blessed to have that. So anything that I was still sorting out or working out, that goes. I can access that later. My purpose now is to make sure that they don't have to go through the things I went through, because I already went through them. They chose me to be their guide. I'm going to teach them. This is a funny story. A couple of years ago, we were in Charleston, South Carolina, where I would take them the last couple of years for spring break. And I said, this is a great opportunity for this conversation. I said, at some point, guys, you are going to be in a situation where somebody offers you alcohol, they offer you drugs or something like that, and it's dangerous and it's not good for you. And you can say no. I want you to say no. No matter what they say, they're going to bully you. If you're a true friend, would never try to force you to do anything you don't want to do. And so I want you to be aware of this, and I want you to know that you can say no, and you can call me. I'll come and get you, no matter what. Entirely thought about it for a second. She goes, Daddy, I have a question. I go, yes. She goes, what if it's apple juice? And I knew right then it was too early. It was too early to have that conversation. I said, we'll get back to this.
Too funny. Well, that's like in one of the Billy Madison movies where he's like, talking to the kid, and he's like, he wants to make sure the kid's like little, and he wants to make sure the kid is not like hanging out with bad kids.
Yeah.
So he's talking to the kids at the playground, and he's like, you know what's really good with milk is rum. And to test the kid, right? And the kid goes, Rumpelstiltskin? And he's like, yeah, all right.
Exactly.
We're good. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't force it all on at once. Yeah. But you're to your question too, like in schools, I've been very blessed. They go to school here in Greenwich, and I've been very blessed that with all the madness you hear about going around the country in certain schools, with things being forced down, their throats before they're able to decide how they even feel about it, that there's old school values, the kind that you and I grew up with. Like they say the Pledge of Allegiance. They welcome people from all nations. Yeah, it's international school. They there's a girl who she's on the spectrum at some level, and she loves my daughter, and Lulu holds her hand and takes care of her. She goes, Daddy, she sees the world differently. And I'm like, how cool is that she sees the world differently, right? She can see colors probably more vibrantly, and she's not worried about nonsense. And she gravitates toward my daughter, and Lulu takes care of her, and she worries about her, makes sure she's okay. And like, these are the things I know they're in good hands, especially since I share custody and I can't be around them all the time. It gives me some peace of mind. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a big deal.
So, I mean, you're talking about like telling your kids about like alcohol and drugs and stuff like that. Like, what's your background with that whole thing?
My grandparents both died on my mother's side. They died from alcoholism and emphysema from smoking. It's in my blood. I don't like the taste of alcohol. I have no desire to drink now. But I went through that period where we're told in this country that fun equals drinking and partying. And I realized that there was a self-loathing part of me that had to be excessive. When you love yourself, you're not excessive. Okay, I can do a couple of this, a couple of drinks and be in bed at a certain time and I get up and have the day. For me, I went through it where I had to drink more than everybody. And I'm like, I just have a high tolerance, and then when drugs came as well, it was like, you're doing drugs all night. You're not doing a little bit to be social, laughing. Oh my God, we were so stupid last night. You're beating yourself up.
Off to the races.
Yeah. So I know it's in my blood. So I'm getting ahead of that. And I've told them I said, when people drink or they do drugs and stuff like that, they're ruining their health. And most times the bad decisions you make in life come from that situation. It's not healthy. It's not good. The only reason Daddy did it because he felt bad about himself. And so they understand that. We drove by, I think it was South Bay on the avenue, and Lulu sticks her head out. She goes, what are you doing? She's yelling at people. She's like, stop drinking and smoking. It's bad for you. I'm Tiger Lily and I are dying laughing, she's putting them in check. So I'm getting ahead of that. A little story. Because it's dangerous. It's scary. But I also,
for my life, I'll tell you.
Yes, we talked about it. Yeah, talk about how did you get there? How did you get to that?
So I think like a lot of people, you're attracted to it. It's kind of part of like becoming a man, becoming an adult. Something you're not supposed to do. You're not of age.
Yeah.
This whole fun little thing.
Yeah.
And it started
a little rebellious.
Like started out drinking like probably like 14. And, kind of cute and fun, stealing stuff, the whole thing, trying to buy beer when you're underage. It's a whole fun little thing. Yeah.
It's a rush.
Slowly, it took over.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, let's drink once a week, to let's drink every night, to let's drink in the morning. Let's drink in the middle of the night when you go to take a leak.
Wow.
And yeah, it got so bad that like I couldn't even function without alcohol in my system. That's how addicted I was. So it wasn't this like, drinking makes my life worse. Like I'm better.
It was not no perspective. Like there was nothing.
Is a fucking war zone. Like it is bad. And yeah, man, dude, my hands would shake if I didn't have drinks. It was, dude, so humiliating, embarrassing, confusing, but all that stemmed from like internal problems. Why was I doing that?
Yeah.
Things inside were not right.
Did you figure it out?
Yeah. Especially like when I started AA, really kind of figured out everything that was going on, just going through the 12 steps in AA. And it was a beautiful experience for me. But the trip is, I didn't want to do it, AA. I was like, I want to do this. I want to get sober my own way. This shit is weird. What's up with this stuff? I'll hang out.
I'm better than these people.
I don't want, I'm not as bad as
not as bad.
Like that. And like, I don't hang out with these old dudes. And like, I just didn't know what it was. So like, that's the one thing I would say to anybody is like, AA works.
Let's go to the level where God also gives us the opportunity to be fucking powerful. We can get up and train our bodies to be powerful so that we don't have to be violent, don't have to be aggressive. And someone comes and they says, you know what? I believe in this. You believe in this. I'm going to take your life. We don't have to go, I'm willing to die for this. I can also punch you in your fucking face and I can stick up for myself because God also wants me to have a great beneficial life. But if that's an option.
But if I in the battle, yes, okay.
Yes. Okay. People think that they just have to give into it too. And maybe you do. So if you're training your whole life for those moments and you're aware of it, like me, I'm aware of the good and the bad that men do. And I'm prepared for both. Right? So I can say, and I don't have to jam my ideals down people's throat. I can just believe it myself and be like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for this life. It's for me. And if you come and you say, if somebody comes, they're like, oh, we're going to go on a crusade and we're going to decimate everybody who's not like us. And they come to me and they say, what do you believe? I can stick up for it, but I can also say, and what? Because I'm prepared for it. And like you said, if I die for it, at least I die sticking to my guns. Too many times in these countries, I hear about like, the majority goes against the minority and the minority can't do anything. And that's
a whole nother thing. I heard a priest say, right? Like everybody, not just now, like all of time, right? God is basically painting this grand painting, right? Over the entire period of time. And you, me, were one little dot in the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
it's pointillism. It makes the actual big.
There's a purpose.
Yeah, the big piece of art.
It might not be for you or your kids or their grandkids, but it's all leading to something.
Yeah.
And it's bigger than anyone to understand.
Yeah.
So like, why try to understand?
Why question it?
Yeah.
Why question it? I agree. It's very simple in that we just realize that this is a gift. We do our best. We do have free will. So usually when we're going through pain and stuff like that, a lot of times we chose to put ourselves in that situation. And a lot of time, and it's hard because there's a lot of tragedy that can't be explained. And our reaction to that, or our acceptance of that, comes from the idea of, like what you said, we're a very small part of a big picture. Sometimes we get to experience another human for a short amount of time, and that's it. Has to be what it is. It's not personal. It's not, why am I forsaken? It's like, why have I been chosen to suffer? It's not that. It's not that. When we look at the big picture of things and we focus on the positive stuff, that always way outweighs the negative stuff. Always. And I don't care if you're walking with a bum leg or you were born with, some type of infirmity. If you can look up, if you can feel the sun on your face, if you can see, you can feel the wind, if you can taste food, if you can do not even all of these things, you do one of these things, you start to realize what matters, man. What matters. It doesn't, again, you go back to gratitude. It doesn't,
but it all starts from.
Yeah.
But it all starts from.
Yeah.
Because if you have that, you have everything.
You have everything. Perspective. Everything. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember working in a restaurant, right? And, I'm having a fucking pity party over myself. This guy comes in. I don't know what you call the disease. Thalidomide. He has thalidomide.
What is that?
Bro, you never heard the Billy Joel song where he's like, children of thalidomide? Look, he didn't start the fire song. So the thalidomide is something where like they would give an epidural shot back in the day, but they didn't know that it would deform the kids.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, so kids would have kind of dolphin-like features.
This would happen while they're in the womb still?
I think so.
From epidural to the mother?
Yeah, whatever. These kids would be born, they were deformed.
They were deformed at birth.
Dolphin-like features. They figured it out and they stopped giving this stuff. But
wow, right?
So this guy walks in, dude. He's in a wheelchair. He's got thalidomide. He's got little nubs, little stuff. Dude, he's a foreigner. He's from Argentina. He's a lawyer. He's got a huge fucking house.
He's a lawyer.
Yeah. He's got a huge house. He's got a hot wife. He's got 2 beautiful kids. And I'm like, bro, this guy did not let anything stop him.
Yeah.
Like, how am I complaining that, like, my
anyway,
is
man.
bad?
Yes.
Who the
yes.
fuck am I? Like,
yes.
Fuck you get.
You feel stupid at that point where I'm like, damn.
Like,
what am I complaining about?
I was dumb.
Yes. We've all been there, bro. We've all been there. Pity party. I'm a victim.
Yeah.
I'm a victim of this or that. We're not. We're not, man. And the energy of the soul is so powerful. When I look at somebody who might have it worse than me or have it, had a rough go or a rough start, whether they've strived or not, even just surviving and having a positive perspective is so powerful. The power of the human spirit, man. When we realize what matters.
Yeah.
What matters. And that we have this much time. I think I told you the story. I took my daughters to the cemetery after church about a month or so ago, and I was explaining to them what the 2 dates on the headstones meant. This is when you start. This is when it's over. Nobody knows how much time we have in between, and we have this much time to do everything that we want to do, that we're passionate about, that we have an idea that we want to learn, that we want to create, that we want to leave, so that we can prove that we were here, and I want to teach them that when they're really young, and they see some, they're like, Daddy, this was a baby. And I'm like, yeah, this was a baby. This was the time they had. And that was it. Maybe that was God's plan, just so that these people could have a child, or this was the plan because they knew that the baby's life was going to be rough, and we don't ask why, because God knows why. But it was funny because I'll get serious, teach them a lesson, trying to do my fatherly duty to teach them a lesson. And I'm like, you girls understand what I'm saying, in a very poignant and serious moment. And Lulu goes, yes, Father. I don't fell over dead. I'm like, really, Lulu? No. And they were dying. They got it, but they're also free enough to, they're crazy, huge personalities. But they understood my point. They did understand my point. I share them with that. There was another thing that was really powerful when we were in South Carolina one time, in Charleston, and I took them to a plantation because the first year we were there, I missed out on that whole opportunity. I don't want them learning about our history from some skewed history book. I want them to know from me, so I can tell them the truth about, greed and cruelty and ego and nonsense from, how men get, abuse power and take advantage of other people. And so we went to this plantation, and it was very, very, what was the word? It was very, even on that day, it just felt heavy. You could feel the souls of the people who had been at this place. And at one point, the guy was talking about how when the kids were too young to actually work all day in the fields, they would make brick and mortar to build the structures. And there was a fingerprint in one of the bricks. And I said, Tiger Lou, put your hand up next to that. And it was the same size as hers. Oh. And the lesson, I was just saying, it brings tears in my eyes now. I go, this is reality. This is something you need to know. People are cruel to each other, and we need to know about this. We need to know that it exists. We also need to make sure that since we're aware of it, we don't allow it.
But that's the real deal, because you're there, right?
Yes.
When you read that in a book, it's a little different than
seeing that. And I have a picture of her hand next to this fingerprint, and I will always show her.
It's heavy.
Whew, heavy, man. Heavy. But it's also a blessing that I get to have this opportunity to show them these things,
Really cool experiences, man, between this, Sitsu, your wild antics.
We did crazy stuff, yeah.
To meditate with you at all?
Yes. Lulu, about 3 years ago, she goes, because they would meditate with me. She goes, Daddy, she goes, whenever I feel crazy, all I do is I slow down, I shut my eyes and I breathe. And I'm like, you get it. You get it. You know?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, it's powerful. And both my daughters are very different. Tiger Lily's she's very book smart and fearless. And, she doesn't have the same interaction with people. She's very standoffish. She'll kind of get close to me when other people are around, and I'll say, "Hey, they asked you what your name was. Look them in the eye and say, 'This is my name,' and ask what their name is. It's okay. There's nothing to be afraid of." Meanwhile, Lulabelle's like, "Hey, I like your shoes. What are your plans for the day?" You know what I mean? They're so different. And I cherish both of their personalities and who they are. And one of the biggest lessons and biggest things that I've learned is not to tell them that I'm proud of them first, to ask them if they're proud of themselves first, because they can go through their whole life wanting to do things to make me proud. And that carries over into other relationships. I'm going to be this way to make my partner proud, or this person proud. And I'm like, no. I get down to their level, physically, because we're big, daunting people compared to this little human. I get down to their level and I'm like, you know what? I hope you're really proud of yourself. Are you proud of you? And they say yes. And I'm like, I'm proud of you too. That was amazing.
Are you trying to win a Father of the Year award?
No, here's the thing. No, I am very aware. I'm aware. I have become, and it might sound like a generic, trendy statement, but I've become the man I needed when I was that age. And I'm proud of that, And so I'm also aware of that. I'm aware of when I mess up. Listen, I messed up too. Like, we can't always be completely in control. Like, someone cuts us off and I've got precious cargo in my car and I react, and I show them that, or I'll tell them, sometimes I get a little agitated because I am the man. Under a lot of pressure. I want to make sure that I can make their lives better, that I can take care of them, I can feed them, I can protect them. And I said, daddies are under pressure sometimes. We react. And they're like, I get it, Dad. I've done things where I might have reacted and afterwards I regret it. I'm like, ooh, that was harsh or something. And I will go to the card store. I'll buy them like a card that says how much I love them. I put it in their mom's mailbox and I say, hey, there's a card for Lulu down there. And she'll get it and she'll, and she knows.
They share a room?
They do now. We had a house when we were together, and then we had to both go our separate ways when everything kind of fell apart. And they ended up renting another apartment, but they're moving in June. They're getting a house now, and they're going to have their own rooms again and stuff. But yeah.
You ever spy on them, like their conversation in their room between themselves?
When they're at my place, sometimes I don't spy on them, but I'll make sure they're going to sleep because they got to get up really early, when I take them to school on Mondays, and I'll listen to make sure. And sometimes I'll just sneak in and jump on their bed. They love it,
Because I bet they have interesting conversations between the two of them.
The thing is, they take care of each other. They're there for each other. They cuddle each other when they sleep. They hold each other's hands when they sleep. They're all over each other. They fight like boys and they make up, and they love each other so much. There was one point I chaperoned Tiger Lily's trip to the zoo, and she was having a rough time because they did the photo booth thing and a couple other kids in there. They decided what the theme was before she could, and they hit the button and she was upset. She was, I wish Lulabelle was here because she make everything okay. And I was like, oh, I love they have each other, And Tiger Lily's sneaky because she's bad. Lulu's built like me. She's diesel strong, but Tiger Lily's slick and she's really good at jujitsu. So she beats her up, and I go, you got to take it easy, on her sister. But I love that they have each other, and I love that they have that, that they have that physical component as well as being, dainty, fancy, little girls that think and that are kind and care.
You got a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I'll do.
Hitting all different angles.
They do. Like that. They do. A lot of people are going to like this, but I got them BB guns for Christmas, and I took them out to teach them how to shoot.
That's a good skill. Yeah.
I grew up north in Michigan where we hunted and stuff, and I don't want them to, who knows what's going to happen in this world. I want them to be able to be prepared. And I know how to shoot. I was a Marine for 6 years. I know how. I want to teach them all the skills that I can.
Yeah.
And again, Tiger Lily just locked right in, and she was really good. And Lulu's a little more aloof. She's the younger sister, so she's, she took a little more work, but they put in the time. They're both focused, and they're collecting wins. They're collecting skills as they, as we spend time together.
So
And that's huge with me.
right, there's a lot of skills you're learning that you can apply to other parts of life. Hand-eye coordination, breathing, patience, all that stuff,
Yeah. All the things that no one taught me. I mean, you heard my story at my event. When I went in the Marine Corps, I went because I didn't have any other opportunities in my town. And I was afraid I was going to be left behind and look around 10 years ago, wow, I did nothing with my life. So again, God put lots of things in my path and I chose to take the ride. So the Marine Corps was another one of those things. I had zero confidence. No one taught me how to shoot. Nobody taught me what I was made of. No one taught me how to be tough and have commitment. And my thing was the alternative was not an option. So knowing that I learned how to shoot, I learned how to breathe, I learned how to persevere and push through physical obstacles. For me, I didn't have an option. They have an option, but I've taught them that they need to burn the boats, man. They need to get rid of plan B. Everybody does. We need to get rid of plan B. Otherwise we can wallow in the muck, and feel sorry for ourselves, feel like victims forever.
Straight up.
And so all these things that I've learned, I'm teaching them at a young age, and that's going to help them as they go through, and they're thriving. They're thriving in life, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of them. So what are you working on now? What's up with Malocchio? What's going on?
Brand is growing. You know what I mean? It's a long journey. It's not over. I thought it was going to be really quick. Yes, sir. But I'm really happy the way it's going. And the way it really, what's exciting is that not even the clothing brand, Eric, and it comes along with it.
Like what?
Like the relationships.
Yeah.
So just like the people I meet, the people I can keep in contact with, you, Louis, Vinny, everybody I've met, like they all help me and I all help them.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Not really about like the product. I'm big into like Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm big into rehab. So a portion of the proceeds we donate to St. Vincent's, which is a big deal to me because I never thought I'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
And like, dude, it's not that difficult.
That's incredible. No.
So I get to do that. I get to give back. I get to help people. People get to help me. And like, dude, everything else will work itself out.
That's it.
Yeah. But I get ideas in my head and they become shirts.
I love it.
And yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Good for you. Hey!